This is a trip report for a trip to Mount Skene and back on the 10th of August 2024 by Justin Burney. We all met in Jamison at the local hotel on a Friday night where we had a bit of a cannery and a nice time around a fire at the local caravan park before we got up early the next morning, split ourselves into two convoys and hit the road. The first convoy was led by me. The second convoy was led by Zach Wilson. Whilst we separated the two convoys by half an hour, it wasn't long before we all caught up together and had morning tea. After a short break, we then headed on up the mountain and it wasn't long before we hit snow. Whilst the snow was pretty soft and there was some reasonably well-formed ruts, there were some moments where we had a bit of fun, as you will see later in this report. And about 1 kilometre from the top of Mount Skene, we started running into a bit of traffic. As you can see in this shot, the snow was pretty chewed up as we got near the top. When we got to the top, we all parked up and started to have a bit of fun. As usual, I was under the bonnet, this time fixing a leak in my power steering. Nothing new, it's part of the joy of owning a Land Rover. Others were out making snowmen and just hanging around in the snow. After a bit of a stop, we were off again, this time heading down towards Lacola. As you can see here, plenty of traffic on the road. A couple of k's down the road, we took a left turn into the Barkley River Jeep track for a bit of off-road adventuring. This is a great little tight track, not that difficult, but fun driving along a really tight track between the trees through the snow. Before too long, we popped back out onto the Jamison-Lacola road, but facing back towards the top of a mountain. One of the vehicles in my convoy decided on a bit of off-piste action and ended up wedged into the bank, requiring a bit of a recovery. At first, I decided to take it gentle and try and just pull him backwards a little bit. This wasn't working. I had to give him a little bit more of a nudge just to get him off the bank before we could then swing around and attach to his front and then give him a snatch out forwards. This wasn't all that straightforward though, because his vehicle was stuck in the gutter that ran down the left-hand side of the road, and I had to tow him for about 50 odd metres before he eventually popped out of the gutter. After that bit of excitement, we headed on down the road, had a bit of lunch, and then we're off back to camp. After another night in the pub for another beautiful meal, we then gathered around the campfire at Damo's cabin and enjoyed the night talking about all things Land Rover. After a great night around the campfire, we were up early the next morning, packed up, and we're on our way home. This was a pretty relaxing trip, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming along, especially Zach Wilson for leading one of the convoys.